Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 287th episode of the Geek First Podcast. I am the Purple Man, Trasnell.
I am the Hellcat, Dylan Muss.
I'm using that nickname just because it's cool, not that I support Kilgrave, Don't want to throw that out there, Just a cool name, the Purple Man.
He's a cool character.
Yeah, he is. He's done some crazy stuff. Let me get my plugs out of the way. So what this is a Jessica Jones, well, I guess series finale review, really. Last season, last Marvel Netflix show. So we're going to do a non-spoilers overall, and then we'll get into some spoilers. Tied to this also, it's nice, eh? Mm-hmm. Tied to this is in a few days, if you listen to this live, in a few days we're going to do a Netflix Marvel ranking thing. We kind of talked about that when all these shows were getting canceled.
Pretty much what we do for all the retros at the very end, just kind of rank our seasons in order, villains, favorite characters, things like that.
And unfortunately, this is the end, It's like, for now, at least.
This is the end game.
Maybe we'll talk about that on the rankings episode if there's a possibility with Hulu or something like that in the future.
Yeah, maybe.
Apparently it's not at least till 2 years, so that's fun. So
And that's classic like Hannibal, maybe we'll do it, and then never happens.
Before we get into that, just some plugs out of the way. You'll get a Toy Story and Chucky review this week. 2 toys are running around making a month. So I'll be doing Toy Story. Taylor Field will be doing Chucky. We got rankings episode. Star Wars Retro will be back because E3 is over. Check out everything from E3. But we have a clear feed now, so that's coming back. I'm not sure what episode we're on. If you head over to Patreon, we got 2 Tarantino retros up there, and soon we will have our superhero draft. That's going to release in August for the public, but it's all of us, the people that participated, picked 5 actors who we think will get cast in the and then July. Well, for us, June to June, but for you, July. It's a fun thing. It's the 3rd annual one. Check out the past 2 in preparations, but it's going to be on Patreon soon. And speaking of drafts, we got Spidey only less than 3 weeks away, which
Very
is exciting.
close.
Yeah. So we're going to do a kind of what we did for X-Men and Fantastic Four. We're going to do a fantasy kind of fan cast draft where we're taking, I think it's about 7 or 8 Spider-Man characters. We got Norman in there, we got Kraven, we got Doc Ock, and we're going to cast them. And it's not an annual thing, but it's going to work the same way as, let's say, Dylan wanted Mads Mikkelsen for Doc Ock. Shoot, he got him, I can't use him. So it's that kind of thing. So it's we like the drafts because it's the only time we can, I feel, do chess matches on the podcast. I always say that. You have to outthink and, who should I pick? What should I do?
It's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, so we got lots of content. Just subscribe on video, SoundCloud, on iTunes. Please give us a written review. We're trying to get to 200 written reviews, and that would help us a lot. Hit our next milestone. Other than that, Dylan, you got anything else to shout out? Men in Black, you guys reviewed that last week?
Yeah, we did. That was
that
was a fun cast, so I definitely recommend checking that out. I don't know. Other than that, I'm just getting super stoked for Ultimate Alliance. I know that's. I'm in this Discord server now, and I'm just talking all the time. But yeah, our 24-hour stream is we're gonna be doing a 24-hour stream for when Ultimate Alliance releases on July 20th-ish.
19th, and then we'll do it on the 20th because the 19th is Friday. We all work, so we'll start. We'll probably.
I'm gonna try and convince you guys to do the 19th. I don't know if I can wait an extra day.
Really? I thought
because that game's going to be at my house. It's going to be in my living room, in my Switch, and I can't start playing it without you guys.
I did think about that because I thought the logistics of it, because I'm still down to do it. But
that would give us a nice buffer day as well. We'd have to take a day off of work.
True.
But,
I thought will we be able to do... We are up all day, work, get off, and then let's say we start at 5 or something. We'll be able to go 5 to 5.
I don't know. We'll discuss it off cast.
I'm down.
It's an idea.
Either
way, around that weekend.
Yeah, we're doing it. It's our 4-year anniversary, and we've been talking about that. I think Dylan and I, at least Kirkland said he's probably into it too. We're going to try and do one more cast because there's lots to break down. Me and Dylan have been going back and forth. Who's going to be DLC? Yeah, we're stoked for this
man,
game.
I'm just in this Discord server and just all these conspiracy theories back and forth. It's so much fun to just discuss the roster and what this game is going to be. So.
Well, you know who could be in the game if she makes her way into DLC is hopefully Jessica Jones.
Yeah, she's an NPC now. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe she'll get upgraded to playable.
I would love her to be in this, but you know what, Dylan? Did you love this season, Jessica Jones? We'd love her to be in Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Man.
I guess we've reviewed every Marvel Netflix show except for Daredevil Season 1. Maybe if we are out of content one day, we'll go take a
back.
trip. Maybe when they announce Daredevil Season 4 is coming back, we'll do a retro Season 1. But what's kind of your history for new viewers and this season?
Yeah, I've been watching all of these shows pretty much as they release. I was a little late at the beginning. I think I started watching after Daredevil Season 2 came out.
Yeah.
And then
because that Defenders had got you. And
exactly. Yeah. So I kind of got I watched both those seasons and Jessica Jones that were out at the time, and I've kind of kept up on everything since then. And it's been a fun ride for the most part. Like it's had its up and downs for sure. And
Rocky road,
Defenders came out and it was kind of like lackluster. It's a little disappointing. But then we've had some really great seasons since then of other shows. But Jessica Jones in particular has been a really weird one because the first season is fantastic. Like definitely you'll see on the ranking episodes, but it's pretty high for me overall.
Someone could make a case for it being the best one, and it'd be hard to argue because it's pretty strong.
You really could. And I mean, a big part of that though is because of Kilgrave, the like fantastic villain, but also just such an interesting character, and then his like deep ties with your main character, which really gives her a lot more depth as well, which is a perfect way to start off that character. You get such an introduction to her and her past, and then season 2 we took, I guess you could say, a similar route where we get introduced to her mom and all this stuff. But that season was just like, I don't know, it's like a dumpster fire. I haven't rewatched any of these shows, so my opinions are like on some of those earlier seasons it's been a while since I've watched them, so I get a little foggy at times. But like season 2 of Jessica Jones, I remember recently, like I even asked you, like, who's the villain in season 2 again? Like I almost just repressed it from my mind. It was such a disappointing season, especially like from where it was at the start and where it went to, because we talk about with Luke Cage or Iron Fist, like season 2 and how they do, but it's like the first seasons for their shows weren't just like exceptional, right? So it's not like you're going down a whole lot. And then Daredevil's always been this high quality, Punisher as well, but yeah, Jessica Jones just took such a nosedive after that first season, so it was really disappointing. So where does this one end up? It's I guess I would put it like kind of in between the two. I'd put it definitely way above season 2 because the villain in this season isn't great either, but it's not as cringy and not as like nails on a chalkboard as Jessica's mom was, but it's nowhere near the level or intrigue that Kilgrave brought to the show. But I think what stands out the most is what we get with Trish and her storyline, and I think, I mean, one thing I mentioned on our Punisher season 2 review, because at that time everything was getting canceled, and we kind of knew that the end was nigh. And so it kind of changed like the way I look at these shows, right? It changed my perspective because it was no longer like building towards something. It wasn't leading to like, a Defenders 2 or something like that. It was just, this is all you're going to get for this character. Whether or not it's a good ending or not, it doesn't matter. This is it. See you later. And it made it just, for me, like a lot of Punisher season 2 stuff, like side characters and stuff, I just didn't really care. Because I didn't really see the point. Like, I loved seeing John Bernthal like pop off, but it was hard for me to get too invested in the other characters. And I know I should look at it just like objectively, like season to season, but that's just not the way I look at these shows, or the way.
The priest guy, what was his name again? I forget.
Remember? Oh God, yeah, like the.
Oh man, because he had like he didn't have like a regular name of John. It was something. I'll look it up later.
The bishop or something like that. Yeah,
and he like took up a lot of. Of season 2.
Yeah. So I kind of feel the same way for this season, where like I knew this is the last, not just Jessica Jones season, but this is the last like Marvel, Netflix, and like all of it. This is the end. This is and it's not really a cap off for all the seasons, obviously. It's just Jessica Jones, and then we do that's pretty much it. Like it doesn't really touch on other stuff. It kind of touches on a couple of the movies, but like these shows are way like before the snap or anything, so it's not like you're getting any of that
we
stuff.
We also saw from Endgame with them not showing up clearly, and especially now, I wonder how far back this goes when they're like, I don't know if we're going to do Defenders 2, and I understood because budgets, but I wonder how far back goes if Netflix was kind of like, we don't really know if we want to continue this relationship. Like, so it's kind of weird now thinking about, they're in the MCU, and we were always like, when are they going to appear in the movies, and now they just feel like X-Men, where it's like they're their own thing now. They're not. Yeah,
it really, like, originally it kind of felt like, it really is a big connected universe, and like it makes sense that these guys down on the streets are doing this stuff, and then the more world scale stuff is happening in the Avengers movies. But it doesn't really feel like that anymore because it's kind of behind, right? Like obviously the snap is like a huge thing on that world, but this takes place like before that, like indescript, like the Dark Ages, like somewhere in between. Exactly. We don't really know. So I guess going back where I was before, Trish, she's had such a dynamic story, like all of these seasons. It's been just like constant changes. She's had such a tragic story, and this season did a great job of expanding on that. It shows you more of her backstory and like her childhood and stuff. But then it also just delves into like her just entering these new like dark places that she hasn't been before. Mm-hmm. So she was the most interesting character to me. I don't want to say I was disappointed with Jessica's character because I wasn't really, but I just like it was kind of just the same stuff. Like in the first two seasons, like she's doing her PI stuff, she's investigating, but I didn't feel like she was like at all dynamic in this season. And even though there's a lot of stuff that happens with her and Trish, and obviously that's important to her character, I didn't really feel like she changed at all or had much of a like interesting story. Like I just found myself kind of bored when she was doing a lot of stuff, which sucks because even in like the worst of these shows, like I feel like I can always connect with the main character and be interested in what they're doing. Yeah. It's more just like the side characters or like why is this 13 episodes? Those kind of things take me out of it. But I'm always interested by the main characters, so it's a little disappointing that Jessica just didn't have that much going on for me. And then some of the other side characters like your Hogarth and Malcolm, like they're good, but I don't know. Hogarth didn't really feel like anything new. Malcolm's something new, but I just don't know if I really needed that. Like I would have been down if they just removed him and made this show shorter, more compact. And I think you could have, because like his impact with Jessica is very, very minimal. He's more like a side character to Hogarth's story now, at least in this season. Like he does pop up a couple times, but really you could very easily see a way to write him out completely. And I would have been okay with that. I don't even felt like this show dragged on, honestly. Like most of the 13 episode seasons, it's like there's like that pocket in the middle where I always felt like it was a little slow. I don't even think that was the case for this season, but I just don't think it needed to be as long. So I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of my thoughts because I don't really have too much even in the way of like restricted to spoiler sections that I need to talk about. I think that's just kind of how I feel. Like I'm not really let down. This is kind of what I was expecting, and it was okay. It's not really like a satisfying ending to all these shows, but at the same time, just the way like Disney and Netflix started just cutting all these things. This show's canceled. Like it just, that was kind of the ending for me at that point. So now we're just kind of getting residual, a couple stories, but I know it's not building to anything. So my hype kind of died months and months ago at this point. So
yeah, I think Daredevil was the last one where we had it, because then once Daredevil got canceled, you just knew. It's
because that show was always on another level.
Yeah, and if that's kind of like their crown jewel on Netflix, like, well, if that one's going, then they're all going. So yeah, you can check back all our reviews. I've been a fan of a lot of the seasons. I don't know if I would say any of them been really bad. I do think maybe Jessica Jones season 2 is probably the only one I classify as like really bad.
Probably the lowest. Everything else is like at least a 6.5 or 7 out of 10.
Like even Iron Fist, when everyone else was hating on it, I still enjoyed it. You know, the Meachums and everything like that.
Oh, I love Ward.
yeah. So there's stuff I liked about them all, and Dylan kind of touched upon it talking about Jessica Jones. I feel that you look at Daredevil, you look at Luke Cage, you look at Iron Fist, you look at Jessica Jones, you look at Punisher. Two things I loved about them was it was taking the movies route where all of them were very different. Whether they achieved that goal or not, you can argue, but they were going for different vibes, and I thought they were all perfectly casted. I thought Daredevil and Punisher being the main one, and then Jessica Jones also being kind of that top tier. Like I really like, what's his name is Iron Fist?
Danny Rand, with the actor's name.
Yeah.
Finn.
Finn Jones. Yeah. Finn Jones and Mike Coulter. But the other three that I listed just felt perfect casting. And Dylan kind of touched upon that, where you had the very first season where she was dealing with Kilgrave, kind of this like demon from her past, so she had to deal with that. And then they did leave these questions unanswered of how, what did happen to her parents, how she created all this. So season 2 naturally was without Kilgrave, which you can go back to. Whenever we talk about news or whatnot, I always worried once Kilgrave happened. It's just I've seen what happened after Dexter with Trinity and how they never recovered after Trinity. But the problem with this show, that happened in their first season, so they got their kind of ace in the hole. And when you kill a villain, it's kind of tough. So. But I thought there was a lot to mine there. I feel very similar to Dylan's season 2. It was just a mess. It was a slodge. That's the only one I've not rewatched. And even after this season, watching it, and no spoilers, I feel like I don't actually need to rewatch it other than if I want to see Trish and stuff like that. Because
they kind of just undo a couple things.
It felt like Thor Ragnarok, where the first half an hour of this episode is like, oh, yeah, this endpoint, it doesn't matter. We're not looking at that. At this point, no, it doesn't matter. What? No, who cares? So it was satisfying because I didn't like a lot of stuff, but it was also just annoying of there's certain elements in season 2 that it took up the entire season, and then they get a 2-minute scene answer them and they just move on, and it's very frustrating from that standpoint. Not even because I like the storyline, just the fact of it's different with a movie. That's 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Okay, fine. But 13, there's one character, again, spoilers, that was in a lot of those episodes last season, maybe all 13 of them, and that's 13 hours, whatever, gone. And this season, I liked a lot. I agree with Dylan that I never had that lull, which was good. Mm-hmm. It never hit the heights of Jessica Jones season 1 by a stretch or by a long shot. But with Jones, the problem was she was just reacting to a lot of stuff. And that's why I was talking about like her journey in season 1 and season 2. This was just... She was taking her experience, what she went through with previous seasons, and implying that, but it never felt like she had a goal to the very last episode. And I think that, I won't get specific, but I think there's just certain things in the last 2 episodes that are very rushed and kind of soured my taste on stuff that I was really liking in this season. Mm-hmm. And then it was just really quick of, okay, I won't say who, but it's just, okay, we're doing this, now this person's a full-on bad guy, and everything that you think they could think through is not really, it's kind of thrown out the window, and you're like, okay, which sucks. Really like Trish. She somehow eclipsed Jessica Jones as a character that when we do our rankings, I'm not sure where I'll rank them, but I think she's higher because she's just had quite the story. When you think of season 1, she's just this talk show host who was her best friend. But even then, she had some like levels to her, and she's the side character of. That's one of the saddest things about this cancellation. We couldn't get like a spin-off show of her or something because she's one of the side characters that I never check the phone or I never roll my eyes or like because sometimes even the last season was different. Sometimes with Karen and Foggy, I'm like I don't know. Sometimes with let's see, with Luke Cage, you got Claire, who's very good, but sometimes like okay, what are we doing here? So
like Misty and stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. For some reason she to me is easily the best side character, so that was good. The villains are they're just lame. The only thing that I could say really positive about them is they don't take up much screen time as Jessica's mother. Mm-hmm. So that's why I like this season. I liked it quite a bit. I have some big cons, but I did like it quite a bit just because they dive into the Trish and Jones dynamic a lot. And I think kind of what Jessica's mother functioned as screen time, that's what Trish got. And I liked it because she was kind of like the co-lead of the show. Yeah. Malcolm,
definitely like the most fleshed out of any of the Marvel side characters.
100%. Yeah, Malcolm was just there. He didn't need to be there. It just that felt like we have this actor who I like. I like him in the role, but it just felt like we have Malcolm. We got to do something with him. Okay, and Hogarth is just super disappointing because it's the same rigmarole every time, and it's minor spoilers, but it's just Hogarth starts off as an ally. There's something she shouldn't do because it's gonna go wrong. She does it, and then in the end, she's very regretful. And it's like every season, it's just that same story over and over. She acts like a piece of shit, and then she's like, I don't know why. And they don't even dive into that. I want one season to be like, even herself asks like, why do I do these things? But she always does them, and everyone says this is gonna go wrong, and she'll spend 2 episodes going, no, I know what I'm doing, and then after, I don't know what I was doing. It's just. It just felt like it was on repeat, and it sucks because I like that actress as well. You know, that's kind of the thing.
I think she was just like, we're done, right? Like it's okay to move on from a character if there's like a good reason for it, and I think they have reason because they did a good job with that character. But like, what else are they going to explore? Well, they just want to do the same thing over. Like, there's not really a reason. Whereas there's a particular character in this season that's like they just came up with a new character for the same purpose. Yeah, and you have to wonder. What was the purpose of that? Just
like I said, to give screen time, maybe just we need 13 episodes. Yeah, but even then, I still think you could fill the 13 episodes. I'm trying to think, but yeah, it's sad on the whole, just because we have Endgame this year, but at the same time, it's like we also have Spider-Man and Black Widow. Like that was the end, but it was the end of a chapter, Mm-hmm. And then even with Star Wars coming out this year. We're getting Star Wars TV shows. They'll be in episode 10 one day. So there's a hope, and we'll talk about another cast. Maybe someday these shows will get revitalized, but I really don't think so. And it was just a bittersweet, especially the last episode, because they do some tie-ins to other shows, which was nice. And I think because they found out they were getting canceled in the middle of the season. I think you can see that in those last few episodes because they do. There's certain people that pop up that I was like, I don't think they would have done this if they didn't know they were getting canned, because it felt like let's tie a nice bow on this. I won't say too much more, but it's sad because it's just this is like when I look at other movie reviewers or podcasts that have been doing this for decades and whatnot, I think this is our first like something started during the podcast and it's ending. Like
that's true.
And if it doesn't come back, in 2 years we could have a new person playing Daredevil. We have a new person playing Jessica Jones in the MCU. And it's gonna
and they were so perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna be bittersweet, but that's where I watched that last episode. Just like, man, this is it. We've reviewed almost every one of them. We've dedicated weekends to these. It's been strange. It's just like. when I was watching and at the end, I'm just like, that's it. Like for now, because Feige's like, you know, I love Feige when he's like, oh, they're just gonna be 6 to 8 episodes. I'm like, that's nice. That's like a day's watch. But you know, like, and all I've said,
I guess that's a good thing too. Is like we're not getting these Marvel Netflix shows anymore, but we are getting some shows related to that world. I mean, I guess there's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. already. That's probably, I think it's still going on, or it's on its last season. Going into its last season.
I think it's ending next year. I think,
so I mean, at least we have something to fill that void of Marvel TV shows. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to get the same darkness or grittiness that these shows had.
No, and it's just it's a bittersweet ending because we've had quite a journey, and it's just because I think Dylan's right. The hype did kind of die after we found these cancellations, but still before then it was just always, you know, a fun weekend event. You know, even Kyle, who's missed out a lot of these reviews, he texts us right away like, oh, there's a new season I thought was canceled. You know, so it's like for our cast, for a portion of us, it's always been like a big kind of event thing. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's what, like 12, 13 seasons worth of TV. Like, that's a lot of character stuff to dive into, right?
Yeah, and even then, like, I think we'll talk about in rankings, you were a little bit disappointed than me, but even then we got Defenders, which was still, it wasn't as big as a hit, I think, as they wanted, but still it was this concept of they're taking 4 different shows and putting together, so it was fun. And the way I describe this and just many others, it reminds me, to probably a lesser extent, but it reminds me a lot of the latest iteration of DC movies, of just like actors that are like really well cast, but you just have these movies that are rocky. You never knew what you were going to get. And that's what happened where it's not DC didn't have this, but with these seasons, they all started relatively really good. And then you never know what you were going to get. You never know. Jones 2, I would have never guessed that it was going to be that quality. So anything to say overall, spoiler or non-spoilers? I would recommend this to if you're a fan, but I wouldn't jump on now. I would just go watch Jessica Jones season 1. And if you really, really like it, then continue on. But I don't know if you have to.
Yeah, if you watch season 1 and you really like Trish and want to see more of her character, then I'd watch this. If you want more Jones action, I don't even think you need to see this season necessarily. I think it's like, without Trish, I don't think this season really has much merit for me personally.
Unfortunately, there's lots of Jones stuff in season 2. You just got to get through season 2.
Yeah, hopefully someone has made like a recap, or maybe just watch the recap at the start of season 3. I don't know.
Yeah. And watch Defenders. She's in that, and she's just kind of the fun alcoholic side character.
Yeah, Defenders is definitely worth a watch, and it's shorter, so it's even if you aren't super into it, it's like it's less of an investment than all these other seasons are, minus Iron Fist 2, I guess.
Yeah. All right. I guess you're the only person here, so I was gonna save this for Spider-Man Far From Home to give you the assemble. But
really, you're gonna give it to me for Spidey? Hey.
Yeah, you're the Spider-Man retro, but
I put a lot of hours into the Spider-Man.
Yeah, you did. You deserved it, but you'll still get it there. So 3, 2, 1.
Geek versus Assemble.
So yeah, I wanted to touch upon where I was going at the end with Luke Cage there, because I was starting to get into
I almost said it in the spoiler-free section that I don't know, I might have navigated around it, but
so that is when, like I said, the season overall I thought was pretty good. We'll get into the last few episodes, but there's a few things where I felt they kind of know, especially maybe the very last scene of this series felt like a big tie back to the series season 1 with which I'll touch upon that quickly, because for some reason when she's like leaving and she gives Malcolm the keys for Alias, they do this zoom on a wall and it's purple, and I was like, oh, this is strange. And then when she's in the airport where she is, there's a woman that walks with a purple coat, the monitor is purple. I was like, what's going on here? And I thought that was a nice touch to remind her kind of why she started doing what she was doing. And it kind of was even though Spider-Man 2 is not the greatest movie, it was that, Spider-Man 2 is going to fight. He's going to end by fighting the Rhino, and that just means like he's just out there still being Spider-Man. And that's what this was like. That's where I felt they knew they were ending, as far as we're going to imply that she's still out there doing her stuff. She's trying to live her life. And I liked that. I felt like it was like, even though the whole season had, what didn't feel like an ending, I think the last 2 episodes kind of felt like a closure that I needed, and especially with Luke Cage being in there. That to me was needed, as far as he was a huge part of season 1. They had good chemistry, so I really liked that. That felt like, hey, do you got a day? Come shoot. It's a quick 3-minute scene, but it added a lot, because to me it was like a nice full circle moment.
It's. I don't think I don't know how I feel about the Kilgrave thing. I really don't like it, actually.
Really? Okay.
I felt like it was a little cheesy. I felt like it was.
I can't say you're wrong.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to like it, but I think there's even just a lot of stuff in season 2 in the way Kilgrave is used that have like not soured my opinion of him, because he was a great villain, really, really well done. And like, as you mentioned, Luke Cage, like the way they used Kilgrave as like the mastermind, and then Luke Cage as like the brute force, was like just super good. Like that dynamic was so well done, and then obviously led into like another character getting a spin-off show, kind of like Punisher in a way. But I just felt like it was a little too cheesy, like from a character like her who's just such a pessimist, like most of the time, like just felt like that little smirk on her face as it's like zooming out and she's like, I'm gonna stay here and fight some crime. It just
fair enough. Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, like, because they knew this was the last season, like I think it's fine. Let her go. Like I think that totally works with me. And you do make a good point. It's like, yeah, now you can just picture in your head, yeah, she's still in New York doing her thing.
Solving cases.
But like she could always do that anyway. I think it might have been a better ending if that was it and she left. For me personally, maybe I don't know. I wonder if that was always their plan or if it was after the cancellation. We're gonna throw in this Kilgrave like throwback. She's still in New York thing.
I feel like that's an after.
It felt like it felt a little tacked on to me. Yeah. I think that leads to the cheesiness of it. But I think you make some good points, like what they did visually with the just throwing the shades of purple and how that made like clue into her head. So I think that was well done. And I really liked the Luke Cage thing. That to me didn't feel tacked on, even though it might have been just as well as that was. But I like it because like it shows he's just wearing that suit, and that enough shows that he's doing like his businessman running the club thing, like just with that little just with the costume. So I think that was perfect because I like to picture that world where Luke Cage is still out there and he's still running that, and then when someone tries to mess with him, he goes and fights him, and that's like the season 3 or whatever. But makes me so mad. I like that a lot. I thought that was well done. It was fun to see him. And it's like, it is a good tie-in because, as you mentioned, he is such a big part of season 1, and that spins off into so many other shows after that, right? Like that was like the early days when these shows weren't necessarily like all leading toward Offenders. They were just kind of doing what they could, and then that eventually led to that point. So I like those. I guess we started at the end, but I was kind of 50-50 on those like little tie-ins, but I think the ending with Trish was well done. I like that was kind of a like. It was a finale, like it was an ending. It wasn't leaving it open. Yeah. Even though I really like that character, and I would have loved to have seen a season of like maybe her show. I think that could have worked. Could have been fun. But I think the ending works well because we're not getting any more. So lock her up in the raft and let's be done with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that because I thought about that way of if this is the last one. And that same thing, I'd like to know when it was originally ending. Was this always the plan for her to go? Because that was my problem. I really liked what they did with Trish because they were kind of making her like the Punisher. Mm-hmm. And it was almost similar to what they did, if you remember, with Davos in Iron Fist Season 2, where he was starting getting out criminals, but then he went crazy. Yeah. And that's what I didn't like, where I felt his build was natural. I felt that she was... Because she's not on any, like, that, whatever that drug that was going around that first season she was taking. She's not on any of that. And she seemed pretty clear-headed. And it just feels like there comes a point where... Jessica gives her this big speech, and I like everything they did to her with her up until about the last 2 episodes. They give her this big speech, and then she decides to kill... Oh, God, I've already forgot that killer's name. What was his name? Salinger, right? Yeah. And then she just decides to cold-blooded murder him. And then after that, I just feel she's calling Hogarth, and she's like, he's bad, right? How bad is he? And like she's just looking for excuses to get anybody, and that's what I didn't like because it felt like they made her sloppy. I wouldn't have minded the Daredevil Punisher approach of, hey, I believe this is the way to go. But it's strange to have that juxtaposition when you have and it's fine now because they're canceled, but in a world where you didn't, it's weird to have a show called The Punisher where the Punisher is doing the exact same things that Trish are, and he's the hero of the show, but then she's doing this, and that's why I didn't like that. I felt they kind of made her go to crazy town a little at the end. So I didn't love those last 2 episodes. I loved everything, and then I was like, oh, they're just making her just the cold-blooded killer.
I would agree that it was a bit sloppy, but I think I never really saw her as a character like a chess player kind of character. Like I never saw her as the one who was thinking moves ahead and thinking about how it's all going to work out and how she would justify this or that, or how how she could stay out of the public eye and all this. Like it kind of just seemed like she was taking it day by day. Like sometimes she would go into work and continue doing like the Trish the show, whatever it's called, the Trish Talks. Sometimes she would just like be gone for days at a time, and like it made sense from a world perspective because like her mom just died, so it's like you can understand why they wouldn't expect her to be there. But I liked that she was just totally unhinged, and like I didn't know what she was going to do next, and it kind of fit that she was going crazy because obviously there's a lot emotionally going on, and we saw in like season 1 and stuff that she's like, I mean season 1, and I can't really remember too much what she does in season 2, but in season 1 like she's gone through a lot of shit, right? Yeah.
Season 2 she eventually finds out that she can get those powers. Remember? That's
that's the big thing.
Like, and then she wants to keep helping and helping, and
But I think her de-evolution into insanity made a lot of sense because she killed like Kilgrave in season 1, right?
No, Jones did.
Jones eventually did the final blow, and that's kind of what changed her. And then, but what I meant to say is in season 2, she kills Jessica's mom, like, for her, and then in this season, like, she accidentally kills that cop, and then she intentionally kills Salinger, and then she goes to take out that other guy. So there's, like, I don't know, I felt like there was a proper evolution to it, even if maybe the end did feel a bit rushed. But what do you think of, like, the actual ending of just, like, having her locked up? Because if that was to lead into another season and we were going to get her, like, she was going to come back, like, I don't think these shows like have the budget or even want to like have Jessica go to the raft to bust her out.
So it's like if this was a world, let's say we were getting a season 4, and no matter what, she was getting locked up in the raft. I didn't like that. I think you do the Punisher route where she just goes and out there, because I see your points. It's still, for me, I found that I think I needed that Salinger thing maybe to happen a little bit earlier where she killed Salinger, then have a few episodes. I think it was just so much because I guess the other point for me is she's completely clear-headed, and then she goes, her co-host kind of sets her off when she's like, oh, if I was Yoda, just like shut up the place and just to kill that guy, you know? And she's like, oh, sorry. So I felt that it was weird that people had said that to her before. She kind of snapped. Everyone talked her down, and then one person says something again like that, kind of to poke the bear, and she's like, "Yeah, fuck this." So I think if the show was going, I still wouldn't have liked. I wouldn't have liked how rushed it was. If they're gonna send her to the raft, which I like, so she's hanging out with Abomination and Hawkeye and stuff like that. So if they're gonna do that, I just wish that buildup was not just the last 2 episodes. I felt like they made that to kind of be shock value, and I feel they never got that moment because a lot of Jessica Jones just chasing Trish. They never got. They touched upon it, but Jones has killed Kilgrave, so it's hard for her to have that more. When she's talking about you're a murderer, this and that, and you got to go to prison. I understand that Trisha's killed more people, but one was an accident, things like that. And it's kind of like, well, why didn't you go to prison? I wish they had that. I don't want to, compare too much, but I wish there was a rooftop scene of when Punisher and Daredevil are up there for 20 minutes just talking about morality and why I do this and why you do this. They touched upon that a little bit, but it just feels more like Jessica Jones is talking down to her, like, I know better.
There's never a consideration from Jessica in the season. Like, she never wavers on that, and that's where she doesn't really have, like, she's had that build before, like, in terms of being a dynamic character. She's had that in the past, but in this season she was never wavering on it, which I think is fine because they set it up. Maybe she could have had some other like development that made her a little more interesting, but you do make a good point there. Like, maybe there should have been a scene where they talked about that more in depth, because I don't even think I don't even think that's mentioned in the season. That
I think Trish once just said, you've murdered someone, and then she just kind of goes, yeah, but I was in a dark place. But it's like, well, she's clearly in a dark place too, so give her a break. Like, and I get it, they try that, but that's why I wish it wasn't so rushed, because literally they take her, and then the day after she's like, I'm back to,
Yeah, and I think, like, I don't know, there could have been some interesting dynamic there, because, like, obviously, like, Jessica really, that was, like, she had Kilgrave because of his power. Like, that's just an insane amount of power that you can't, like, let on the streets, or you can't expect, like, even if they were to be rehabilitated, something like that's just a really risky thing. Whereas it makes sense to, like, you don't have to kill Salinger because he'll just be locked up in prison, and
and that could have been a good conversation of it, justify it a bit more. But I think they took their route near the end, and that's where I liked what they were going for when they were kind of partner up, and it was kind of, I'm trying to. Even then, she accidentally kills that guy because she is enraged, but she accidentally kills that guy in that trailer. But again, she's trying to do that so Jessica doesn't get locked up. I think that's the problem. They tried to make her feel like Davos, where Davos was just a mass murderer. She had motives, except for that in this finale when she was just talking to Hogarth, like, give me a guy who's bad. Yeah. And it's like, okay, and because how does she get? I'm forgetting. How does she get locked up? Because I felt like when she's killing that guy, that she was after Hogarth, and then the daughter comes in, and she kind of goes, it's like Daredevil the movie. She's like, I'm not the bad guy. Yeah. I thought that was going to be the clicking moment, but then she was still just kind of, I felt they just wavered too much. They couldn't, for me, that's the thing I like, that's where I'm wavering of. I like stuff in the finale, and I kind of like the ending, but there's parts I don't. So I'm just trying to think how she...
I think I always liked about Trish that she was super off the rails. Like, it's an interesting dynamic, but and maybe that's why I didn't see it so much as, like, wavering, and that's just always how I've seen that character.
And
but
you're right, she has had a history of being sporadic and out there.
Yeah, and and I think it kind of is fortified in this season too, because you have you get, like, that dynamic where you see, like, what her life was like growing up and stuff. You get more of the backstory, so you can kind of understand you can understand better why she's so broken.
Yeah.
So,
and I could admit maybe it's just my bias of I just didn't want them to send her to prison, her to be the end up bad guy. You know, I think there's parts of they did it well, but it's just, and I know this is the last. If it is last season, I'm just gonna say it is because I don't think they'll get revived. Then I can. It's fine because we're no longer. But if it's playing that world of Devil's Advocate season 4, and even then I don't like that. I wish they would have found a way that they could still be friends. You know, because and they get that nice moment when they say bye to each other. But I think it's just that. Hellcat to me, I like that character. She's not a villain in the comics or anything, so for me, I guess it was a turn I wasn't expecting, and I didn't like that because I want her and Jessica Jones to be good, and even if they can't be best friends, they gotta divide ways because they have different ways of going. It's kind of like Daredevil and Punisher. Like he doesn't like Punisher, but he never goes after him anymore. He's just kind of like, well, he's doing his thing, and I was kind of hoping we get a similar ending of well, you go do your thing because she wasn't targeting innocent people, you know. So it's just she is Punisher. That's what she is, right? So. It's just strange. So I just wish she wasn't in prison. I like Trish, and I didn't want her to be the bad guy. You know,
I can't blame you for that.
Yeah, let's talk about because I don't have too much to add on Jones. I think she was just reacting to a bunch.
Yeah, like it should be said that like acting wise, I think she's always fantastic. Like she's great at delivering those lines. You know, it's always fun to see her mess some shit up. Like in this show, we actually see her like throw that fucking gazebo.
Oh yeah,
and like you never really see her do things like that. Like I guess there's a couple like fight scenes, more bigger fight scenes in the first season. You don't really see that, which I'm totally fine with. But I like that you got to see a little bit of that at least, a little bit more for her strength.
Yeah, the only big thing I'll have, same thing. I think she does great. It's kind of like we've talked about with Burf and all.
Yeah, she's fantastic casting, always on point.
Yeah, the only thing I'll mention is what I was talking about non-spoilers is now looking back on it, it's strange. So. We get introduced. I'm sure we'll talk to him, but she kind of gets another love interest this season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strange because season 2, this was talking about non-spoilers. I forget the guy's name, but he has a guy. It's a guy and he has a small child. Like the kid's like I don't know 10 or something like that. But he's a big fan of Jones. That's kind of when they meet in season 2. And season 2 kind of ends in this way that she's kind of wishy-washy if she's going to date this guy just because she has a dark past and all this stuff. And you know she does to kill grave her mother, big life. You know so. But then at the end of the season, I remember she's having dinner with them, and it's kind of settling in of, oh, maybe this could be my life now. And then we jump to this season. She's single. She's picking up dudes again. And then there's just some scene of, you know, her and this guy, and he's just like, you know, you got to let people in. And she's just like, oh, that's my problem. It's literally just 2 minutes of explaining. And they don't really give a reason why they broke up. Just, I guess she couldn't let him in. But it's strange because season 2 was kind of trying to be like, oh, she's letting this guy in. So it was strange. I was fine with that because I didn't want her to be tied down. But I think now in the long run, if I don't think I'll I was starting to rewatch season 1 actually because the Kilgrave thing got me hyped. But the other 2, I don't know how much I'll rewatch. But it's strange for a character. I said this to Dylan. Is that a character that's so by herself and such a loner and lone wolf and is just kind of like uses men just for sex and for a good time and gets rid of them. In season 1, 2, and 3, she has all these love interests where she's just has the same dilemma of, oh, should I be with this guy? Is he too nice for me? And that's a problem. I wish that one of these seasons we didn't because I think Luke Cage, for me, it's probably because their charisma, it worked and it was a good setup. But even in season 1, it was like, oh, this guy, for some reason, I like him. It's because the powers, too, right? But then every season, it just feels that we have to put her with a guy. And I wish either this season or last season, she's just alone. She doesn't need that. She doesn't need a love interest. And it's just weird for her, a character that's constantly about pushing men away or things like that they've always felt the need to pair with. And this...
At least he, as a character, had more to do than just be a love interest.
Yeah, and that's fine. I just wish I didn't need that story, and I thought he was fine. He grew on me. What was his name again?
Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, he was like a kind of a Nathan Fillion ripoff. I kind of liked his powers of, sensing bad people.
I really didn't. I thought it was super gimmicky, and like it was super. I
didn't love the headache.
It was incredibly unclear, like how it worked or if it worked at all. That's the part I didn't like about it.
So, that's all I have to add on Jones. I didn't like there was no love interest, and in season 2, they just throw Ragnarok the love interest of, we spent a whole season saying that, maybe Jessica will be this guy. Nah, she's not going to be this guy. So it's strange.
I thought he was, I thought he was fine as a character, and when he was on screen, I generally liked it. But his powers, I really didn't like his powers, and I think that was kind of the reason why they decided to, get rid of the other guy and bring in this guy is because he has that power and it tied into the story. But like. Really, we didn't need his eyes to bleed at the end to understand that Trish is become evil. Like, we didn't need that as a viewer. And then, like, what else does he do? He's like, I guess he sometimes reads some other people. So and then they kind of have this thing where they're like setting him up for like season 3 or season 4 where he's gonna like help out the cops or something. It's like, oh boy. I guess that's okay if that's like what his future is, but I don't know. I don't think his powers were really all that necessary in this season. So that's and then like also, as I said earlier, like the way they were used kind of rubbed me the wrong way a bit.
Do you, in your mind, even though he's doing terrible things, do you view Frank Castle as an evil person?
Are you asking, like, would it trigger this guy's, like, headaches?
Well, I think it would, right? Because that's another thing I didn't like, that I didn't feel she's making a bad choice, but she's not evil. She's not.
That's the thing. Like, I don't really know how his powers work. Like, is it you are inherently a bad person, or is it you have done bad things?
Or you're just
because have you done bad things? Frank Castle has killed a lot of people, and I'm sure some of them weren't like that bad. So
and Jones, same thing. She killed Gray, but she still killed the person, right?
Yeah. It's like, so I guess it's like
she killed Luke Cage's wife.
That's where it's kind of weird. Where it's like, who is it? His subjective opinion of like what makes a bad person, and then that translated into powers is like as in terms of like how much he'll detect them. Like, I don't know, and that's where it was weird to me. It's like everyone else, like even Jessica Jones, I guess it's you don't really know what her powers are. Like, how strong is she? Can she fly? Can she jump? I don't know.
Yeah.
But like Kilgrave, it makes sense exactly what he can do. I guess even like Hellcat, it's like she just kind of has better agility and strength to some capacity.
Yeah, but not as strong as Jones.
Whereas this guy's just like, what? I don't get it. Like, I understand what they're trying to do, but it just came off kind of weird.
Yeah.
So
at least he has good radar for like dates and stuff like that. You know, if he gets that headache, he knows it's not a keeper.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess so.
And the only thing I'll say, his sister was just kind of there. I knew the second she came in, Malcolm was going to hook up with her, and they gave Malcolm some storyline.
Yeah, I really... for me, what I didn't like about that, because I think Malcolm is like a really good actor, actually, and I'd be down to see him in some other roles in movies or whatever, because I want to see more of him. And I like that girlfriend wasn't in a previous season, right? Like, she's a new character this
Barry
time.
Or his girlfriend?
His girlfriend.
That was this season. Yeah, she's to my
working
knowledge,
with Hogarth, and that's where they met. Generally, I was fine with what he was doing and with Hogarth and stuff. Like, I thought it was like for those side characters, as I mentioned, the overall, like, I just wasn't really that interested, but I thought he was fine. But I'd never really understood exactly why he didn't want to be with his girlfriend anymore, and like why he just wanted to be with this girl instead.
He didn't feel he was good enough. He says that, you remember? So I feel like he just had some crisis of he was living this life. Because I don't know, they tried to me...
That's not really... For me, that's not good enough.
No, I know.
It was like... that was the part that confused me. I just didn't really understand what he was thinking there.
Well, they're doing...
And I don't know how you would go about explaining it, because he kind of has this weird scene with Trish where he's like explaining how he's been like unfaithful and stuff, and it's like, this is really weird. Like, I don't know why he's having this conversation, but that's the question. It's like, who else would he talk to, right? Because he's like, the only friend we know that he has is Jones, but she's busy doing more important stuff. So he just kind of falls by the wayside here. And even though his scenes aren't like bad by any means, and they're well acted and stuff, it's just like, why do we need this? And that's why I mentioned, like, maybe just cut him, or like maybe he has a small role in the season. Like, you mention him or you show him once or twice. Maybe he helps them like find something because he's good at the investigation stuff. But like, really, do we need this full storyline of him and his girlfriend and like Barry? I don't think we do.
No,
personally.
Yeah, because to me it was a mix of they're doing the storyline with him and his girlfriend as far as he didn't feel he was good enough for her, but then he also was coming to terms with he's done some bad stuff for Hogarth, and that's why to me I didn't understand. What I thought they were going, he's just really stressed out making these mistakes, but then in the end he's kind of like, well, I've always been not the greatest person, so it kind of shined through. But it's like, I don't know if I buy that. It's just you kind of made a lot of those choices, and it was strange. And the Malcolm character's always kind of been like most of the characters in Jones make a lot of bad mistakes and choices, but this just felt like he made those choices and mistakes to further the plot. So, and yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to see him more. And quickly, because I know probably end on the villain, Hogarth again. I was just annoyed. Okay, she's with this woman. Which to me didn't make sense, because I was like, okay, I kind of understand maybe you want them to split up from their marriage, but they're literally in public making out, seeing shows together, so it's not like you didn't have to hide. It wasn't anything like that. Sure, you had to deal with the husband every once in a while, but it felt like you had a pretty good setup there, and then what did it end with? You kill her husband, and then she leaves you in the end anyway.
I'm pretty sure that, and I'm foggy on season 2, as I mentioned, but I'm pretty sure she was doing the exact same thing in that season.
Well, she did something bad in season 2 because she got her comeuppance from. Remember, she was seeing a girl that ended up being a criminal, and she stole all her shit, and then she made her kill herself. But
then she popped up in Iron Fist season 2 as well.
Yeah, Iron Fist, she's never bad. She's just kind of around, and that's where I would like her to be more. But she's always season 1. She needs a divorce, so she's gonna get Kilgrave to take out her wife, and it's always just stuff that clearly, Jerry, these are illegal acts. These are not good. And like I said, it's the same thing of she starts off as an ally. Her and Jones start fighting about something. She makes a really bad decision. The karma bites her in the ass, and then she's kind of reformed until the next season. It was the same thing again of okay, why do you need to expose this woman's husband? Everything's fine. You have a relationship with her. It's an open marriage. Why? And it's just Hogarth being, because she's greedy. It's okay, I just wish we got something in the season of someone calling her out, and maybe that's what this character could have done. Why do you do this? Maybe her sitting back and being okay. And I thought she was gonna because they set this up that her ALS is getting further along and she wants Jones to kill her. I thought she was just gonna kill herself, and I thought that was gonna be the resolution of, man, I am a shitty person. I've done a lot. Maybe I do deserve this, But there's not ever that come to Jesus moment. It's just always, well, on to the next thing for her, Mm-hmm. It's just. I like that actress a lot. It's just frustrating. Every season, she's always just bad karma.
Yeah.
Bad karma.
No, she's a little overdone. Once again, not necessary in this season, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I guess we also get Trish's mom dies in this season.
Yeah, really, really good scene. The way Trish acted, and it makes sense because she was in a lot of the show. So I was it did make sense, but I was still caught off guard. Wow, her mom's in this lot, but it made sense what you feel for. And
I thought it was I thought it was well done. Adds permanent stakes to the show, and things are forever changed, and it really affects Trish's character obviously. And we didn't really see a ton how it really affected Jessica. It more affected her in a secondary effect in how it affected Trish and how she had to deal with that.
We had that nice moment when they got the will reading. And then she gave her that chair, which I really liked, because it kind of seemed that this was the first time she realized, even though Dorothy wasn't the greatest mom, she even hit Trish, that maybe she still did care for Jones as well, where Jones didn't think that at all. She just thought she put up with her. But her leaving her that chair was it
was a nice note. Yeah. It's kind of another thing to do with Trish, but I like that early on is episode 2, or I think it was 2, where we get the Trish backstory with her and her mom.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was really surprised that we got another episode of that.
Oh, no, I think it's... Did we get the episode? Because I thought episode 2 was from the point of view of Trish, which I liked.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The second episode was a Trish episode essentially,
and I like that they did that a few times.
Yeah, and then it's episode 10 or maybe 11 or something where we get the full on backstory of the flashback.
Very bad times at El Royale-ish, which I like. You see the same scenes, but then they're kind of different.
Yeah, I thought those were always well done, really fun, cinematography wise. And pacing wise, but also it's just really fun to see that dynamic of diving more into Trish's backstory and making Dorothy seem like such a piece of shit in a really effective way and she's so good at that role, actress at just being you're just so aggravated at everything she's doing because she's such a bad person, but it was fun to see too. As well, just when they went to go do that interview for that role and Dorothy just kind of weasels her way to the front of the line and gets Trish in there. It shows that she's annoying, but she's also pretty smart at what she's doing. She's really effective at what she accomplished what she was trying to 100%. So I really liked seeing that, and I love that there was kind of 2 episodes dedicated to that, to Trish's character and diving more into her mom, and then obviously the stakes of it was really nice because it was we haven't really got a ton of that throughout these shows, a lot of kind of main characters or characters close to the main character that have died, Jessica Jones' mom. Kind of different because she's also the villain, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I can't really think of many other examples off the top of my head.
No, they're all in past tense. Obviously Luke Cage's wife died, but that was just still him dealing with it.
Yeah, it's never a character that we've just been hanging out with for 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, there was that in season 1. You wouldn't remember that one of Jessica Jones's neighbor died, and then we had to deal with his annoying sister for a whole season. I'm not sure if you remember her.
I don't remember that.
No one important. Okay. I don't have too much more. I guess we're probably going to end it on the lackluster villain here, unfortunately. Salinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not a fan. This just felt... They should have just got Michael C. Hall and made him play you're not Dexter, but you're Mexter. I don't know. It was weird. They just felt like they took Dexter and they took Jigsaw from Saw. They put it in the one because he's literally wearing like the T-shirt and the gloves, and he's talking about how at one point he's killing people like you had every advantage in life. I was like, oh, here we go. So it was just, and no, it sucks is because
you cheated.
No, it sucks is because Jessica Jones does like, oh, she's super powered, but it feels like you could set her up to deal with more realistic enemies. It's kind of like a Batman in a sense where he's looking after a guy that leaves riddles, right? So it's like the idea, if I would have read this on paper, oh, this season there's a serial killer and Jessica Jones is looking for that, that's very exciting because Kilgrave's technically a serial killer, but he's just killing people. He's a mass murderer. He's not leaving hints and whatnot. This is literally a guy who is like a Dexter, killing people, stuff like that. So I was at first like, oh, I'm really interested. This could be cool. And it just took the lamest route. It just felt like in Dexter, one of those episodes where he has to go after one person, they're gone, then you never see them again. That's what he felt like. He even got like a discount Michael C. Hall kind of look guy. And I don't want to speak too bad because maybe it was the writing. I don't think the actor was the strongest. He wasn't an actor that even lower material could raise it up. You know, even though in Kilgrave he had great writing, David Tennant to me is an actor that even with some bad writing he could make it better.
Sure.
I don't think this guy had this. So it's not Jessica's mom, but I checked out every time he was on screen. I didn't care because this stuff we've all seen before. You gotta live a better life. I'm killing to help the world.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's just generic serial killer stuff. So really disappointed.
And the cat and mouse dynamic of it was super uninteresting. Like Jessica would like catch him, and then he'd like get away on like some technicality, and then would happen
he's not
like
superpowered.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It just felt like super lame. Like she already had caught him many times, and then they just kind of kept redoing it. And then there was just scenes where they're like just together, kind of hanging out, and I don't know. It was weird. Like when she goes to like. And they have that like little wrestling match. I was
just going to bring it up. That was brutal. Why would she do that? And even then the next episode, because they do this as she's like trying to intimidate him. And the next episode she even goes, oh, I shouldn't have done that because it provoked him. But even in the moment, it was just like, this is a guy who's killing people and you're going to like wrestle with them. And there's no reason to be... she like wrestles him and she's like, oh, is this how you killed Nathan? It's just like, even for Jones, who is a reactionary character, it just felt too out of place for her to... And it felt like, check out our X-Men retro. There's one moment in X-Men Wolverine Origins where Wolverine has to box the Blob to get some information. And it kind of felt like that where this is not a scene to me in Jessica Jones. All these shows have cheesy moments, but in the entire Marvel Netflix universe, to me this was the cheesiest of... Jessica's gonna mat wrestle this guy, and it was just weird. And people had their phones.
People like cheering.
Yeah, it was. I felt like
I think it was kind of. It was one of those things. There's this like storyline, I guess, in the season where they're trying to make Jessica Jones like public appearance, make her come across as a hero.
Yeah.
And they go back and forth on it because it's like she's almost arrested at some point.
Yeah.
But I think that was just another one of those scenes where you see like people like taking videos of her, people cheering her on, and then you see like the newspaper later. That's kind of how the show. Like, it opens up with, like, someone taking a video of her as well, like, taking out some bad guy. So, I guess that was kind of the reason, is they wanted that to be displayed in, like, a public way. And that's kind of the way they decided to do it, and to show her off as, like, you know, a fighter, I guess. But that's not really necessary, I don't think. And she doesn't really care about that either.
No,
so.
And we don't get a deep dive, because Dorothy has this great idea, which I like, that when she finds out Trish has power, she's, like, talking to them, like, oh, we got to change your guys' image, this and that.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I have great costume idea.
Yeah, and then in that same one, there's people, she's looking in a case, and all these people are following her, and she makes some comment about having fans now. And I think that could have been fun to play up, like, all these fans. Or it's kind of like Luke Cage when they were coming up to him, but he's kind of plays the camera. If Jessica was over it, kind of
like someone in the street comes up to like ask her for an autograph, and she just like throws their, you know, whatever.
Yeah, or it's like this was some huge idea, like you should go make a statement and go wrestle him, go embarrass him, something like. But it was just she got mad in the moment, so she did it. So I wish we maybe took some Malcolm stuff away and gone to like the anti-Luke Cage of she doesn't want to be this celebrity, but everyone kind of loves her. And it would be weird because Jessica Jones again is always pushing people away. So what does she do when she has like crowds of people cheering her on or wanting her to be a hero? But we don't get that because even those kids cheer on, she kind of like smiles and walks away. So it's like, do you say you don't like people, but you're liking this attention? I was not a fan of that, and just a lot of stuff they did with Salinger. It was just
I just thought of one other thing.
And how many reveals were there in the season of there's a camera in this room? There's a camera.
Oh, that's what I was just gonna bring up. He just like goes into her apartment. Was he hiding in her apartment, or did he knock on the door and then just like knock her out or something?
The very first time he knocked on the door, he stabbed her.
He poisoned, and then he also poisoned her drink later. And then he's like in her apartment, like doing all this like torture stuff. And then they're like, we got you on camera, bitch. And then the guy like pops out of the side room. He's like, I am here all along.
Oh, yeah.
That was so lame. Like, it's just so stupid from him because then...
You can't hurt my friend Trish. Oh, yeah.
That's like classic from that archetype, right? Is that the serial killer is like some genius who's planning out every move. And even though they're an awful person, like they're really smart. And it's like kind of makes this interesting thing. But he just wasn't smart. Like he came across as an idiot many times.
He just had cameras. That was always go-to. Like I said with Trish, Trish beats him up. No one knows it's Trish. He goes, oh, if I go to prison, this photo will release. It's like, okay. And then there's a camera in his worm container.
Yeah.
That was his
That's
go-to
like the
move.
Jigsaw stuff, right? Where it's like, I have all of this planned.
Yeah. Like if he was in Ultimate Alliance, his finish was just throwing out a bunch of cameras at people. And it was just strange. It was a weird thing. And
I hope he's not in Ultimate Alliance.
No. And it just gave me like good pointers of Matt Reeves, who's like supposed to be doing Riddler right now. Of like, I hope that's not a thing in the future of like this criminal mastermind of like, oh yeah, and I got cameras. You know, I don't want to see cameras ever again in a villain because this was just every 2 episodes, and then even
that's like his superpower, right? Because like that's the thing. I don't need a character who has superpowers. It's like that's not the reason Kilgrave was interesting. His powers are really interesting. It helps, but that's not like the main reason. Like he had also just really good writing and just a really interesting like depth of character. But like as you mentioned at the very beginning, like the idea of a serial killer in a season like this with it's a PI is like it could be a really fun cat and mouse sort of thing. But instead, it just came across as like really weird. Yeah, it was just strange. It was like, why did they do this? Why in their final season did they? I mean, I guess they didn't know it was their final season, but why would they want to do this? As like the key, and it's like it would have been better if there was dynamic, if there was other villains, and I guess you could see Trish as a villain, and that's kind of how it comes across as the end. But she's not really a villain to Jones; she's like a villain to society, I guess. So
she's not after Jessica Jones.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like if you had maybe other characters in the season as well that would play off as villains. I don't think that'd be a great idea. I think you should have just done a different villain in general. But yeah, it was a weird choice and not executed well. And not even acted that well, and I don't blame him. It's a kind of a cheesy character that doesn't really have a lot of depth. He's pretty one note, so it's hard to blame him too much. But overall, just like a weird decision. Yeah, I would say.
Like I said, I think it sounded good on paper. It's the same thing as last year, though. Too, I think Jessica's mom kind of sounded good on paper. Of she's been experimenting, has these powers, this origin. It ties back to the facility, but then the execution of it was like, this is sloppy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's kind of him. it's just again, a serial killer. Okay, cool. There's so many things you could do, and he just makes it about you're not appreciating your life. And it's not even like Jigsaw until the end. Jigsaw had some weird ones, like at one point went after some guy for smoking. And I was like, okay, we're running out of ideas. But those early films, he had ideas. If this was a criminal, he bucked the system, things like that. This was just, it felt like Trish's mom, he'd give some reason, like, oh, well, Dorothy didn't do it. It's like, no, you just targeted her because you want to make Trish. I think that's why he was in there, just to push Trish over the edge. But you could do that so many different ways, So, yeah.
A little disappointing on that one.
Yeah. Anything? I got a few notes, but anything major you want to shout out?
Not really, no.
Okay, so, I shot out the wrestling ring. That was bad. I hated the way Hogarth found out about Trish being Hellcat. Just the classic. They have the security footage of Malcolm and her talking. Trish and Malcolm, pronoun pals. And what happens is Malcolm's girlfriend, loyal, great girlfriend, just gets the shit end in this whole season. She did nothing wrong. Very understanding. She cut out the footage of when Trish turns around. You can see her face. So Hogarth doesn't know that, but she's searching, trying to find a way. And then she pauses it, and she can see her face on Trish's on the computer, like a computer outlet, like her a mirror. It's kind of showing her, and then she just zooms in, and it's just clear, like you could see it's Trish. And this security camera, I get it. There's HD cams now, but it was crystal clear. No
it was like a CSI moment for sure.
Oh yeah. Let's see. What was I gonna say? Oh, just bad stuff from the killer. At one point, the killer said, the main guy Sandra, Satan wins when forces of good stand elderly by. No, that was somebody else that said that. I can't remember, but it was just an awful quote. And then there's times that, and another thing about Sandra, I just felt like he would say stuff and Jessica would get triggered. But really, when you listen to what he was saying, it's stuff that wouldn't trigger her, but she just got mad because that's what the show wanted to. They try to make it like, Sandra's really smart, but they just made him smart in the way, they were going to get characters to react to. When really, I don't think in the past they would. Even with Kilgrave, Jessica, it took a lot to get under her skin, but Sandra was just saying, to me, very generic stuff that wouldn't get to Jessica Jones, and it did in this season. Trish, I can maybe understand. She's newer, but Jones, very thick skin. But in this thing, Sandra was hitting her with lots of zingers, and she's like, a
lot of zingers.
Yeah, so... final thoughts, score, anything? Are you saying anything you need to?
Yeah, I've said it all. It sucks that this is the end of our Marvel Netflix ride, but like I said, like I kind of already had that mentality a few months ago, which maybe is a defeatist attitude, but that's just kind of the reality of the situation. So
it's like if you go into a race and they tell you no matter what you're going to lose this race.
Yeah. Okay. Overall, like we've had some amazing shows here, and even from this show, even in this like season, there is some great moments and great characters.
Give
and
us
stuff.
Trish, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Trish is a fantastic character, so I'm super excited to do our ranking episode.
Yeah.
To look back on all these because, I mean, I haven't rewatched any of these shows. I kind of just watched them as I've been going through. So definitely gonna go back and no, obviously I don't have time to watch all these shows, but yeah, do some Wikipedias, try to remember some of the characters. But overall, it was fun to see this connected world, and even though it's kind of crumbled a bit at the end and doesn't feel as connected as it once was, it still was really fun to watch all these shows, and I don't regret the weekends dedicated to binging 13 hours of these things. Even this season, I still enjoyed it overall. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I put this around 7 out of 10. I need to think because I think Iron Fist and Luke Cage Season 2 are kind of around that score as well. I'd have to look. So I got the same thing. I gotta look at the rankings because I like them all for different reasons, you know, because Luke Cage Season 2 had Bushmaster, you know.
Bushmaster.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun episode. But yeah, it was, I'm happy that we ended on this season instead of Season 2 because that would have been really bummer.
Yeah, true.
This was nowhere near Jessica Jones or Punisher 1 or some of the Daredevils, but at least I enjoyed it. I was wanting to watch episode after episode. I think sometimes some certain twists they did with Trish reveals or other reveals were working. I was like, okay, whether they're going to go with this. Last season was just, I don't care what's happening. Let's move along. So it didn't end on the highest, but it didn't end on the lowest either. So, you know, it's a strange way to end, but and I liked the ending. I understand. I think Dylan's right. It is pretty cheesy, but you know, I guess you could go either way. But I like that it was not just, it just ended with her like sitting at her desk. It's like at least she's, you know, making a choice. It's kind of powered by Kilgrave, so maybe you could say that's a negative because he's still kind of running her life a little bit. But
he always is.
He always is, unfortunately. So yeah, 7 out of 10, kind of that. Definitely the middle tier, not the best, not the worst. So yeah, that's our Jessica Jones Season 3 review. Last one. Like I said, in a few days we'll do a rankings episode. That's gonna be tons of fun. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. If you want to follow us, go down in the description below. You got everything: Twitter, Facebook, video, and podcast feeds. And yeah, we got lots of content, so please subscribe. Thank you very much. Until next time, it'll not be boring.
See you later.